Ah. Do you know that it takes YouTube from my laptop 5 minutes to go live? Um, Sorry, I'm was checking up on something. So anyway, I've moved and went live earlier. The only reason why I go live is because I get tired of filming and then editing and then uploading. So might as well just, and this is just a transitioning update. Another playlist that I'll do in between. Earlier, I was just too tired. I mean, I always look like I'm tired because I am. So earlier I hadn't I was still just scrambled. So now we're back in the other Vincent's motel because after 28 days I have to leave. So I go into the Motel 6 and then come back. And my pity, Prosperity, couldn't contain herself. Like she didn't like being in a new place. She has anxiety. And you can't smoke in there in their hotels. So it's all non-smoking, which is fine. Helps me cut down future goals. So every time I left, she thought I was abandoning her. Now, remember, she's a rescue. If you haven't watched the first documentary, I talk about her, the first season document of Blue Phoenix Rising. I talk about her and that in the old apartments where had to leave, and that she was thrown out of an SUV, and I watched the whole thing, scooped her up real quick. So it's not that we're in a vehicle, but she still has this fear of abandonment. She doesn't want to be left. And she feels comfortable here. So now that she's comfortable, I'm comfortable and more awake to be able to do this update. So anyway, first things first. So, happy elections, I guess, is I don't know. It's not a holiday, but that was one thing that I was going to talk about. And it's all these Black personalities and artists, actresses, rappers, singers, who are belittling and bullying other Blacks who are voting for Trump. Now, I don't care like who you vote for is your business. I mean, it's always your business. And what really just gets me is that it's like open season now. It's been justified to bully people based on politics. And it's other Black people bullying other Black people. And it's even people from other countries, from African countries like Nigeria and, so forth, who are bullying. There was this lady on Instagram. I followed her because she's, I saw a video on Facebook and it was kind of funny. And, I thought, well, maybe she's a comedian. I really didn't know who she was. And I didn't check out her Facebook profile to see. Later on, I would find that she is Nigerian, but I believe born in America. Her name's Lovey something. And so I guess she's written a book and is, a coach of some sort, motivational speaker or speaker. And I'm wondering I'm listening to her on Instagram, and I'm thinking because she's basically just saying that if you vote for Trump, you're stupid. You're a dumb fuck, basically, is what she said. And you can go and look up, give her some views to do. It's the people of color thing to do. It's the woman thing to do, because he said, grab him by the pussy. I never caught that. But I don't believe that he he's not racist like the Klan, but he's not racist. He's not any more racist than a white male growing up in America. I mean, what is he, 60, 70 years old? I mean, it's not, but I haven't, Biden, on the other hand, nobody's talking about his pedophilia, his son's pedophilia. Workings and dealings with China and Russia, all the things that they've accused Trump of. So it really bugged me, because I'm like, I get tired of other people, of Black people bullying other people, and it brought me to this cultural soul ties that we have, that where, when I grew up, I wasn't raised, I raised myself, me and God raised us. So it's, but growing up, it was you're automatically a Christian. You're automatically a Democrat. If you're a black woman, you're automatically going to cater to your black son and husband because the police could kill them or they have it harder than you in some way, shape, or form, which ended up cultivating this misogynic, hypersexual narcissism that we see now in black men. I've all these artists peeing on whether they're girlfriends or prostitutes. I mean, you're peeing on somebody, and it's acceptable. Nobody wants to mention that. But in my daily dealings, and after I watched this video of with her saying this, that you're a dumbass if you vote for Trump and all this, and I'm thinking to myself, you don't know why somebody's voting the way that they are. You don't pay their bills. You don't vote. You don't know their story. You don't know what they've gone through or battled through to change their minds. And we're not given, I feel, just personally growing up, I wasn't given a choice of whether I wanted to be Christian or whether I wanted to be Democrat, or whether I wanted to be under, subservient to black males all my life. And today I can say, I dance to the beat of my drum, and I've always been interested in Asian culture and spirituality and religion. So, I mean, and today I would consider myself a Hindu, and or involved in Hinduism, not Hindu. I still don't know how to phrase that, but most of my spiritual practice consists of a few psalm scriptures, and the rest of it is chanting mantras, reading, the Vedas and other sources of spirituality, and just studying up on it. And but I was never given that choice. But when people, it's just amazing how, like, people assume that here, I live in a hotel in California, Northern California, and people assume that because you're in a hotel that you're going to see Hispanics working as maids. Those are the only, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's a given and nobody questions it. And I don't know who created that, or that the only landscapers are going to be Mexicans, or the only ones working on construction sites are going to be Mexicans, besides the European or white Caucasian boss, foreman. Very seldom have I seen blacks or white males or females. I saw a Mexican female out there with the rest of the Mexican males on a construction site just today. So, it's like it's a given, and I don't understand, like, why is it a given? If a white person can't discriminate or only hire white people, why is it not racist for a Korean restaurant to only hire other Koreans with, occasional white person in there, but never any other person of color? Why is it okay for that? For the same thing with the Mexican restaurants, when they have a authentic Mexican restaurant, they never hire anybody but Mexicans. And again, occasionally the white person, that shows up, and because of marriage or dating or whatever, So it got me really thinking. It's like, why are this is normal? Why is it a given that because you're black, you're supposed to vote Democrat? I mean, like, I've had questions about the Democratic Party for, decades. So I'm like, a couple decades, like, why, and the way that people have gone off on Candace Owens, I mean, she's saying exactly what I've been feeling, and I was belittled for. And the other thing that gets me too is the violence that other blacks are ready to perpetrate on blacks who, in their views, are stepping out of line, are stepping out of the cultural norm, are breaking those soul ties so they can be free. I was walking my babes a few days ago, and this may even be last week, was walking my babes, and black male, he's up at the hotel cashier or whatever. He's trying to get a room. And I just see it because he's at the window, and because of COVID, you have to do everything outside, so everything's visible. And I'm passing, and I just keep my head down, focused on my girls, and we go do what we got to do, and we come back. But I looked over, and he saw me, so he made eye contact, and I could feel it. When you raise your vibrations, and you get this, you can kind of to his side, to peer at me, to kind of see my face, because I'm not looking at him, and because I knew history, all of that. And so when I spoke, my vocabulary wasn't a bunch of slang. It wasn't a bunch of black vernacular. So, and even to this day, I'm not saying that I have this great vocabulary. Because I don't. I'm like so behind. The street life will do that to you. Being homeless will do that to you. But at that time, you're trying to be white. No, I'm just trying to be educated, and I like these words. I'm fascinated by words. I'm fascinated by the etymology of words, and it's sometimes I get overwhelmed when I'm writing my scripts, because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many words to use, but if I use this word, the story might take a turn here, or you know what I mean. So anyway, I was never considered black enough. And I got tired of that. I got tired of always being pulled into a toxic situation, or belittled or berated because I wasn't like others that was considered black. I wasn't dark enough. I wasn't, but I wasn't pliable for misogynistic black males. So, because being a lesbian, I was out at 15. So, we're actually 13. So, I made no, when I knew what the term was to describe myself, my sexual orientation, I used it. Other than that, it was just something that came natural, and to each his own. But I just got tired of it. And so I welcomed thank you for revoking my ghetto pass, because the ghetto is not somewhere where I'd like to be anyway. So with this guy using the term cis, the phrase cis, hey sis, number one, he's attacking several things. He's attacking my blackness. He's attacking my femininity, because he's trying to pull out those heartstrings so he can manipulate me into doing something for him that is illegal. I'm not going to use my ID, because you don't have ID because that's required to get a hotel room. I'm not going to use my ID for you. So plus, we're not related. We're not from the same tribe. We have no relation at all. We have nothing in common. And, a lot of people, I told somebody this, and they said, well, but you're black. It's like, yes, actually, I am Blackfeet, black, and Scottish Irish. I'm of mixed race, dark complexion. My hair says it all. I got 3 different textures. So no joke. But it just proved to me, it's like, see, anytime we step out from those ties that, we're just connected by race, that's it. We're not connected by ideology. We're not connected by, gender. We're not connected by finances. We're not connected. And so here was this black male trying to hustle me, trying to manipulate me by any means necessary to do something for him that I didn't want to do. And so here is this, woman lovey talking and saying, because Lil Wayne and Ice Cube and, the rest of them who are making money and doing things in the community, that they need to keep their mouth shut, or they should be isolated now. Because, Candace Owens is in this too. It's like, well, we don't know, she has issues, And you notice every time we step out of line in the black community and we say something that shouldn't be said, we talk about the pedophilia in our community. We talk about the narcissism, the collective sometimes narcissism in our community, and everybody's, well, you got issues. I remember the term in the 90s used to be, oh, was she bipolar? Everybody was bipolar who disagreed and wasn't speaking the propaganda. Everybody was bipolar. and that way then they, kind of pat you on the back or whatever, or, we'll pray for you or do something like that, because nobody wants to deal with the issues. And so, and so when this lady was saying this, and I had that experience, and I just had another experience once I was, bringing all my stuff back into the hotel room, and, so unloading, and, black male, he's been here before. I mean, when I first started coming to Vincent's you know, when I would get a hotel room, when I'd have the money and then go back down to the streets again. He's been here. Him and his wife have been here, and he had come back like about three. I've been here for. I'm going into my 4th month now. I've been able to stay at Vincent's, and so he's been here, and he said that his wife has mental problems or whatever, and so they have a little girl, and then there's him, and he'll sit out and on his computer and blast his music. Nobody else wants to hear it. It's just about respect. And you smoke marijuana and stuff like that. And so he comes up to me, and he's not coming up to me. He's kind of dancing around me. And I'm just like, oh God, I mean, I just don't want to deal with it today. I'm tired. I have to work tonight. So I want to get some sleep. I want to eat. I want to, do this live and wind down. I don't want any drama. And it just felt like today, for some reason, like little nicks, like people are trying to see where there's a chink in my armor. And so he comes around the front of my van, the U-Haul, and I see him, and I go back in, and then I look again, and he's back over by his car. I was like, well, weren't you just so? I was like, wow, he moves quick. And so I'm in the back, and he goes, comes back there, and he goes, I want to ask you something. And of course, I'm irritated because I'm dealing with Prosperity, and who's whining. The rest of the other 2 babies, my grandbaby and her mom, are fine. They do good transitions when we leave, but Prosperity, no. So I'm trying to calm her because I want to get everything out before I bring the girls in. So then that way I can just sit and rest and unpack. And he comes behind me. Number one, you're in my space. I didn't give you permission to be in my space. You're literally right up on me. Hey, I want to ask you a question. So I can see from your eyes that you're high. So I already know you're not in your right mind. And he says, I want to ask you a question. I said, okay, what? And I was a little bit irritated because number one, you're in my space. Number 2, you're high. Number 3, this isn't going to end well. And I really don't want to talk to you. I'm tired. And he goes, oh, never mind. I said, okay. But the normal reaction would have been to go after him and trying to appease him, make him feel better about himself. Let him suckle at my nipple. Because now he's upset. I have upset him, right? No, fuck no. Shit. What the hell am I going to breastfeed you for? No, you had no right to come up into my personal space. And so when you're going through these transitions in life and you're doing the work and you're making the connections as to why you react or you feel fear about this, or who have been the players in your life that have kept you down or kept you feeling lower than who you are, right? When you deal with that and that gets removed, it gets uprooted from you up here, which changes the way that you think, which changes your heart. It changes the way that you move throughout life, and it ups your vibration. People can feel that. But this doesn't mean that they're not going to challenge you, because like I said, they're always going to look for a chink in your armor. The devil is always trying to get a foothold. It doesn't matter. That's what they do for the rest of their lives, if they choose to. So, here's this with, I'm not reacting the way that he wanted me to react. I wasn't receptive to him, and I don't have to be receptive to him. Because he's black or because he's male, I don't have to be receptive to him at all. And the sick and sad thing is that, especially in our community, I have to be ready to fight. Like, people have made comments, demeaned black women for looking too manly or acting too manly or being too aggressive. Well, because I have to be a lot of us have our Ike Turners. My dad was one. I saw the way that my dad beat my stepmother, who was white. You know, he loved her, was in love with her, but he had a mental issue. He was a cluster B. So he was a narcissist and a sociopath. He did not, you know, which is hard. It's like he loved her on one hand, but he literally beat the shit out of her on the other. And I watched this. I heard the screams. I grew up with it. I grew up with it. He beat me. So, you know, when you grow, and, you know, this was my black father. So when people make that kind of remark to, it's like, oh, well, you know, this is what black women look like this and look like this, and they're not attractive, and they're, you know what I mean? And then that's why black men go and get their, you know, Betty's or whatever with the good hair. And it's like, well, yeah, because I was taught, and this is also the what I'm recalling and what I've realized is that it's kind of like God let the devil test Job, right? It's like, I'm going to try your servant. I'm going to see. So I see it as a test. Like, I get tested. I'm being tested. Like, okay, are you really not going to interact with us at this level? And the answer is yes. I died so many times on the streets from heart attacks, from just inside, you know, to get here, to get where I can be able to afford to keep a roof over me and my fur babies' heads. And I recognize what is toxic and what is healthy. I know who I am and I know what I'll accept, and that's okay. I have a right to do that. And it's, you know, if he wanted ice water, we got him ice. Continue that pattern. That's not me. It never will. With you in the vicinity, but I will not speak to you directly. But I will signify, and I will engage anybody who wants to listen. And I will tell them what I think of you and how you bruised me and wham, wham, wham. So that's what he was doing. And he's like, oh, I'm tired of motherfuckers around here. I'm tired of this. I can't. Then leave. Leave. I mean, if you don't, if you're not centered, if you're not grounded, that you, because I had to fight that. Believe me. Number one, I'm tired. Psychopaths, sociopaths, personality disorders. You know how it feels. It's discombobulating a little bit, you know. And this wasn't a just person who was so upsetting, and I have a hard time expressing my. I never used to have this, but you know, after being on the streets and after being slandered to the whole city and whatnot, you know, or physical. He almost had me. He almost got me. And he kept, I'm tired of people here. He kept talking, you know, signifying. And I wanted to tell him, shut up. Just please shut up. But I refrained. And, or punish me. You know, a lot of times when people don't like boundaries. And when you set boundaries for them, they feel that you deserve to be punished. And they may not think of it as punishment, as in, this is something that I want, so I'm going to break down these boundaries, come hell or high water. And down these boundaries, come hell or high water. And yeah, so, you know, it's learning, you know, before I wouldn't have recognized that toxicity. This is what I've dealt with all my life. That's just how he is, or that's just how they are. That's just how it is in the Black community. Oh yeah, I show proof to that. Trump is a racist because this personality, this actor, this actress said that he is. But then when you look in their closets, they're engaging in sexual acts or favors and bribery that, you know, they're not telling anybody. So, you know, anyway, so there's that. And that was what I wanted to mention about that. But also, so the next thing is the, I have a playlist up now teaching everybody the tactics and terms and tactics of people with cluster B personality disorders. Because one thing that I found is that knowledge is power. It's freeing. Because the thing with my stalker, she has borderline personality disorder. She is also bipolar, schizophrenic, and I mean, normally when these people have one diagnosis under that cluster B category, they have others peppered in there. Just one seems to be heightened over the other. They will not, of course, they're not going to divulge, and I'm a highly intuitive person anyway, very perceptive. Just have always been, and clairvoyant, you name it. So it didn't take me too long, but they will get you while you're vulnerable. And reflecting over my own story, where I lived with this person for 2 months, only to find out that she was part of the cause for me becoming homeless, and had been stalking me and harassing me, and before part of. So I thought to myself, the least you can do is drop me back off. But and then to still be pursued by her through flying monkeys, having her stalk me in different vehicles and things like that, really was emotionally trying, physically trying, because I'm on the streets. I'm surviving for life and or fighting for my life. And here's this person who decided that because her grooming wasn't taking, that we were going to start all over again. And she absolutely did reset herself. And there's a book that I just ordered called part of it's called The Wise Lesbian Guide to Traumatic Relationships, I think, by Olm. I'll put it up here and I'll put it in the description. A link to it on Amazon. I just bought it yesterday because I've been really wanting to get into that and have her on my podcast, which is coming up. So anyway, I want everybody to know, it's like, look, you're not the only one going through this, but you don't know what's happening because nobody's put a label on it. So very seldom are we, because they keep us so isolated. I remembered living with her, and I was always being watched. Like in the condo, it was like the life was taken out of it. There was no life. If she didn't want to fly to fart, the fly wasn't going to fart, because that was her. She had to have control. So now that I know what I know, I'm sharing that. So please look into the playlist and comment if you guys haven't subscribed, or to anybody new who may be watching, like and subscribe. And I guess you have to hit the button, and so that way you can get notifications. And I'm going to try and up, but I do work full time, guys, so I can't always be online. Just know that I'm going to get some more terms up. I just had, pardon me, and there were some situations that happened that I had to call the police, and whatever they were trying to do in the form of sabotaging me backfired. So it's been quiet, and they can go silent for a little while, but most of the time they're scheming. So, you're going through so much already, and I really am. I'm worn out, and myself to cry, and so, there's terms where psychologists will say, well, you're attracting that person, and you may be, because you don't know anything different, because nobody's taught you anything different. Nobody's taught you how to look and say, nobody's validated that, number one, that what this person did to you was wrong, whether they violated you sexually, whether they violated you spiritually, whether they violated you physically. What that person did was wrong. But you have to be willing to take the time and to take an honest look into your mental closets. And that's what I had to do. I was forced to do it on the street. God took me through it. It was like, okay, If you want change, if you want something better for your life, you have all these dreams that I put into you. But I can't put you on that path until you get this crap out of you, until you let this crap go. So I feel happy when, even though it's an abusive situation, but they're the abusers, not me. I didn't go up to any black male and say, hey, bro, you helped commit a crime, or hey, I want to ask you something. I've put up with it for too long, so that's just on renewing your mind. Guys, and show you some. This is not for likes. As I said, I'm having one night, right? It's not like I'm going to be homeless. So I've been severely challenged, you know, and I've passed. I've passed this, which is, okay, are you going to engage? Where he has the episode where he's talking about nigger moments. Template in breaking people down and traumatizing them and sometimes killing them, you know, and that's what was the goal of this person. And aesthetically pleasing, I guess, is what I was saying. I want to take my hope to have, which is, you know, my own place, a yard for the babes to run, quiet, peace, you know, helping people to grow and elevate. But I don't know how to get there, you know, and so I'm just taking baby steps, and it's transitioning. It's more of a psychological transition, you know. Physically, I'm going through the motions, but it's hard. It's very hard. Not that I'm happy to be, you know, I'm not happy to be on off the streets, but realizing all the fear and all the abuse, you know, when I play it back in my head, like with the two black males that I dealt with successfully, or chose not to deal with. I just, like the guy today, I just gonna mind my own business. You don't want to talk, you know, but still realizing that I'm still in this state of fear, because the energy that I felt from this guy is that he wanted to start something. And now, do you want to start something so bad that you would hit me in order to get me to do something to you, or to feel like, you know, I've paid attention to you now, to get my attention? Because I've had that happen, not recently, but I've had that happen. Yeah. So I'm still working as a security guard, but I'm just really desiring to have more time to be creative, to connect with the audience, and to answer questions, and to just engage on a deeper level, you know. And I'm a perfectionist, you know. I want everything to be the perfectly imperfect is basically how I describe myself. But I like to try, you know. So anyway, hopefully it hasn't been too long or been too confusing. But right now, just in between, I'm going to start on the documentary and give you guys a preview of the class that I'm currently offering, and the classes to come. So anyway, God bless. Peace.